Today's learning target is I can use the percent proportion to solve problems. In today's assignment, we're going to be turning words and phrases like we have here into equations. Now to do that, it's important to remember that words can mean certain things in math. So for example, when we see the word is, we know it means equal. Or if we see the word of, it means times. So knowing that now, we can turn our words into an equation. So 12 is means equal, what percent? So here's where my variable is going to be. It's going to be what percent. So I know percent means per 100. So I'm going to put x per 100% of, remember of means times, 32. And now I have an equation that I can solve. Remember that my goal is to get this variable, this x, by itself, figure out what percent. Now to get this x by itself, the first thing I want to do is to get rid of anything not attached to the x. So let's get rid of this or cancel out this times 32. And I know I can do that by dividing by 32. These cancel each other out. Now remember, if I divide one side by 32, I have to divide this side by 32. And remember, a way that I can show that is just like that. That's 12 divided by 32. And now I could use my cross products, like I've learned before, to help me solve this equation right now. So I'd be looking at 12 times 100. Okay, I know that equals 1200. Is equal to 32 times x. Okay, now I divide each side by 32. Just like that. And when I solve that on my calculator, you can see I get 37 and 5/10. And so my answer is going to be x equals 37 and 5/10. Now be careful because it says what percent. Okay, so it's 37.5%. So 37.5% of 32 is going to be 12. So this one here is going to be set up a little differently. Remember, the first thing we want to do is remember our keywords. Okay, is means equal and of means times. Now let's turn these words into an equation. Okay, so I have what number. Okay, so that's going to be my variable. So let's use x is means equal 15.5 or 15.5% of means times 450. So there I've written out my equation. So now I want to use my calculator for this. There is a percent button on some calculators, but for me it's just faster. I just know that 15.5%, to write it as a decimal, percent, right? I'm dividing by 100. I just move the decimal 2 places to the left, right? So that gives me decimal 155, so 155 thousandths times 450, and once I calculate that, I get x equals 69 and 75 hundredths. So when I look at that, what number? So 69 and 75 hundredths is 15.5% of 450. So here's one more example that'll be written slightly different but solved the same way. So we have 78, okay, so I'm going to write that out, is, there's my key word, is means equal, 60% of what number? Remember, of means times, and I'll put n for what number. Now I want to solve this equation. First thing, let's change this percent again to a decimal so that I'm dealing with a decimal number rather than a percent. So that'd give me 6/10 times n. So I'm just going to write 6/10 n is equal to 78. Now I want to get this n by itself. So this is 6/10 times n. So to do that, I'm going to divide by 6/10. And of course I have to do the same thing to both sides. And once I calculate that, I get n equals 180. So if we looked at this, it would be 78 is 60% of 180.